Okay, and finally we have the super heroic, someone who is, and this kind of ties in sometimes with the warrior hero, but this is a person again who exaggerates the normal ideas of humanity, might have divine origins, and so I have a picture there of Hercules because he is the son of Zeus, or supernatural origins like Superman came from another planet. The superhero stands apart from society, is not necessarily entirely comfortable or accepted in society because of this otherness, but is needed by society. Okay, has something to offer that society is going to be lacking without his or her presence. Okay, so that takes care of characters, and that leads us now into some of the plot archetypes, or the familiar plot patterns or plot devices that you should begin to recognize in literature. And once you recognize them, you are able to then ask yourself, how are these working, and what are these helping to show me about this story? So we have the hero's journey archetypes, and there are several different types of a hero's journey, but the idea of the journey or the quest is probably one of the most frequently repeated plot archetypes. So your hero might be on a quest for identity. Harry Potter would definitely suit that. He's trying to understand who he is and where he was from. The hero might be on a quest for vengeance, like Batman, and his whole entire life is devoted to avenging the death of his parents. The hero might be on a quest for love, as we mentioned with the Princess Bride. It might be a search for knowledge. If I am able to learn this secret or discover how to do something, I can bring this back and it will benefit my community, and I can, or save my society. It might be a quest to find a paradise, or the good place to be, and you would see this, if the character is trying to find a sense of home. And I think that Of Mice and Men shows us this kind of a quest, although in the end they're not successful in finding the money to build their little farm and have their little perfect home. You might have a tragic quest in which the hero is going out to seek redemption, is punishing him or herself, and at the end of the quest, they will hopefully have atoned for whatever sin or transgression they feel they must receive forgiveness for. The quest to save the people or to rid the land of danger would fit with the idea of Beowulf and how he was sent to hunt after Grendel and Grendel's mother to alleviate that threat from the land. And then we have the idea of the Grail quest from the Arthur legends, and this is questing for human perfection, to really try to find that way to bring about ultimate perfection and peace in human society. Now, in the hero's journey, there are many familiar and repeated stages. First, we will have the idea of the call, and this is going to be sort of the introduction of the hero, the whatever it is that sort of sets the hero up. There might be strange circumstances surrounding the hero's birth. Something about the hero stands out at a young age. The hero might be an orphan or a foster child, and that's very typical of the call. A really good example is, again, from the Harry Potter series. If you haven't read or at least seen the first movie, you might need to do that just as a kind of a homework to understand the hero's journey. But Harry Potter, we know, was dropped as a baby on the doorstep of his relatives. So there are strange circumstances around his youth. His parents died in a strange and tragic way that he doesn't totally understand. From a very young age, he is able to make things happen, and he doesn't know why or how. That's the magic coming through. Okay, then there is the step of the crossing. And this is when the hero leaves the ordinary world or leaves her everyday life and enters into the world of adventure or the world of danger or the quest. The crossing might come from acknowledging a special power or a specialness, or it might be when the hero physically leaves home and begins the journey. And during the crossing, the hero is often guided by some sort of a helper or a mentor. In the Harry Potter series, this is when Harry receives a letter from Hogwarts, accepts Hagrid's invitation, and leaves home and says, "Yes, I will, take a risk here and go to this school for magic." And during this time, Harry has both Hagrid and Dumbledore as his helpers or his mentors in the crossing. All right, other stages of the hero's journey. There will be tests, there will be challenges that the hero has to face throughout the course of the journey. This might be nature, it might be monsters, it might be other warriors, or it might be a evil sorcerer, just anything you can imagine that would test the hero's challenge or the hero's resolve and strength. And these tests might also be mental tests. With the Harry Potter series, again, we had the mirror in which he could see his parents, and that was a test of his mental strength, because he had to be willing to leave that and continue with life as he knew it. Every time the hero defeats an outside force or has a mental victory, this only improves the hero's strength, and it advances his or her ability and makes it more likely that he or she will achieve the quest. During these tests, the hero is again often aided by different helpers. These can be fellow warriors, these can be friends. You'll see a variety of things. And in the Harry Potter series, we of course have Ron and Hermione, who are the helpers throughout. All right, you will have a climax, a real critical moment in the hero's journey. This might be a battle with a monster, a wizard, or a warrior, and typically not just any monster, wizard, or warrior, but the villain, the great foe. Although, again, it is possible to have a climax that is entirely an internal battle, making a choice, making a sacrifice, whatever that might be. And then we will have the flight. After the mission, the hero returns back to the ordinary world and will bring back something. So the flight and the elixir work together here. If the hero had to fight for the token or the elixir, then there may be further challenges to face before he or she is able to get home. There might be more people chasing after the hero. If the hero simply completed tasks or tests that were established and by completing the tests, therefore was given the token or the elixir, then the return might be fairly quick and easy. In the first Harry Potter book, you have the battle with Voldemort over the stone, the Sorcerer's Stone. The hero won, in a sense, Harry won through his own power. There was nothing left to fight him to bring this token back. And in the first novel, the token or the elixir that he brings back is really a knowledge, and it's the knowledge that he is not alone in everything, that he has friends, and then that can now be brought back into his everyday life. So the elixir that the hero goes after, the goal of the quest, okay, it might be a token, it might be an object, it might be a blessing. For the lover hero, it's going to be true love, but it's what was gained or acquired throughout the journey or the quest, and the hero now applies that in the everyday world. one of the things that made the Harry Potter series so incredibly popular is that it tapped into these archetypes. And if you go back through even just the first book, she really managed to encapsulate an entire journey with many of the heroic character archetypes just in the first book. If you are a fan of the series as a whole, you excuse me, you could look at how the entire series is a journey, with the first book as simply stage one of Harry's journey as an archetypal hero. Okay, now we will talk about specific settings, locations, places that have specific meaning if you are aware of their archetypal relationship. So, beginning with the idea of the garden, and this relates back to the idea of like the Garden of Eden. A garden can be meant to represent a paradise or a place of hope. It can represent the order of civilization because gardens are planned and laid out in a very specific way. In contrast, you have the forest, which is wild and untamed. And so if things are taking place in the forest, that could represent that they are something that is antisocial, or that they are invoking the power of nature, or that they might even be evil because they're not out in the open and they're not part of what society respects. In the Scarlet, in the Crucible, the young girls at the beginning are out dancing in the forest. Okay, this is a place associated with evil behavior and the supernatural, and that's one of the reasons why that's where the dancing takes place. If you have caves or tunnels, if you have the hero entering a cave or going down into a tunnel, this can represent a time of introspection when the hero has to really reflect on what's happened, has to go inside him or herself and find the strength needed to continue on with the task. However, a cave or a tunnel can also signify death. This is a place where someone goes, after they've experienced defeat. Okay, a mountain or a peak then as the opposite of the cave or tunnel. This is a place where the hero is able to physically see or metaphysically gain insight, and so in that regard can see the most. So if you have things happening on mountains and peaks, they should be places of insight or of knowledge. And then we have the idea of a microcosm. It's where we can represent the entire world in just one small area. And we've talked about that with Lord of the Flies, how the boys and the society they create on that island is entirely similar to the society at large around them. But an island might also represent a place of isolation or a place of sanctuary. And so when King Arthur's body is carried through the mists off to Avalon Island, we don't know where that is, so he's gone there and is isolated now from the rest of the world, but is also protected from the wounds that would have been fatal in the real world.